Hello, I'm going to tell you guys how the proper way is to write a poetry analysis. First of all, you pick a poem, it could be any poem, and how you start out is one, you look at the title. You want to understand what the title means. That is the most important part of understanding the poem as a whole. And then you want to read the poem for major indicators of its meaning, such as what aspects of setting, of topic, of voice seem to dominate to direct your reading, per se. And then after that, you want to read the ending of the poem and decide where it gets to. Meaning, like, it starts from this end and goes to this end. Like, it starts from the starting to the finish. How does it get there? What elements of the poem get there? And then the best way to do it that I find is to divide the poem up into parts. Like, you can divide it into line per line or stanza by stanza. I tend to go stanza by stanza because it's easier for me to do it that way. You can try to understand how the organization is, like I said, stanza by stanza or line by line, or how the poem proceeds, like let's say two stanzas are one scene together, and then the next two stanzas after that are another scene. You could divide it up like that if you feel like you want that. You also want to look at what principles guide this organization. Is there a reversal, a climax, a sequence of some kind, sets of oppositions? You need to look at all these elements to figure out how you're going to separate the poem into talking about it. And then you want to pay attention to the tone of the poem, like its attitude to its subject, as it is revealed in notation and nuance and the kind of words used and so forth. Like are they words like long words or, short words that, are really angry and mean, or are they long drawn out words? You need to look at all those things because that adds to the tone of the poem. And then after you've looked at the title, the major indicators of the topic, the ending, the organization, the tone, you read the poem out loud again. And you try to project its meaning in your reading. Like, as you're reading, talk to yourself while you read it. Be like, okay, in this scene, I think this girl likes this guy. And then in this scene, the guy doesn't like the girl and leaves. You need to talk yourself through the poem. That will help a lot, especially, and then when you go to write it down, you will remember those thoughts that you talked out to yourself. And as you read out loud, you start noticing more about how the various elements of the poetry work to create its meaning, and this may be as different as the kind of imagery used, or it uses oppositions, or the level of realism or symbolism of its use of the natural world. Like symbolism to the Bible, maybe, symbolism to a tree or a simile or a metaphor. All these elements will create a wonderful poetry analysis or explication, whatever you use. But you want to look at your literary terms like onomatopoeia, repetition of phrases, alliteration, symbolism, imagery. You want to look at all of those, and you want to do as many readings as you can before you go to write it. And you really want to get an in-depth perception of the poem itself. So that is the best way to write a poetry analysis.